Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your transfer reaction show. I'm your host, the Gov. This is Ipswich Town signing Tottenham striker Dane Scarlett on loan. What are our thoughts this evening then, Rich? We've got Tom from 4-0 running over it joining us very shortly to give us his perspective, having watched the player for a number of months. What are your first brief outline thoughts before we come to Tom?
Look, I wasn't surprised, Gov. I think it's another one that the link with Kieran McKenna, obviously from Spurs.
Back to the
we know a little bit about the player. We see him play against us last season for Pompey. I think he scored, didn't he, in the Papa John's at Portman Road. Look, good young player, Martin. But look, if you go on the socials today, it's very much sort of split. A lot of people saying he's a really good signing, and then you'll get another camp saying it's pretty underwhelming. You know, it's another loan signing. I can see it. I can honestly see it from both sides. I honestly can. Look, I'm not overly unhappy with it, but then it doesn't really fit the model of the football club that we've been led to believe, you know, with the player trading. But saying that, Kieran's worked with him like Brandon Williams, and I think it's good that we're getting the link with these teams, Govern. They're trusting us to have these players on loan, and hopefully Kieran can improve him. Because look, he's improved. Like I'd say, he's improved everybody since he's been at the football club. So it's a wait and see for me. I'd like to see what he can do, but just one thing: does he improve our starting 11?
Well, that is a great question. We'll come back to that because first of all, we'll hear from Tom from 4-0 written all over it for his thoughts on the player. Tom, thank you for joining us. How are you?
You're very welcome. Yes, I'm all good. Thank you, gents. Thank you for having me on. Looking forward to chatting about Dane with you.
No, it's our pleasure. So tell us, what sort of player is Town getting? What sort of player can fans expect to see?
Yeah, you're getting a young, hard-working striker. You're getting someone who thrives off some confidence. I think, as you were saying up there, it's one of those where the partnership with the manager is going to be really important. I think an already fostered relationship for such a young player at such a young age is really important. The words "hot" and "prospect" come to mind when talking about Dane Scarlett. I think interestingly as well, signs another contract extension at Tottenham and then goes out on loan to you boys. I think that kind of says a lot to me as well. You're talking about improving the starting 11. It's such a good starting 11 that you boys have. I'd argue whether it improves it. I'd also say when you put it in amongst the signing of Brandon Williams, you put it in amongst Kieran McKenna's extended contract, you put it amongst George Hurst extending his stay at the football club, I can see why people would see it as underwhelming by your standards. However, if you detach yourself from that, you're getting a young player who has got a point to prove to his parent club. Let's not beat around the bush. It didn't go the way he would have wanted it to at Pompey. Started fantastically well. I said in that video earlier on today that I sent you over that things really got off to a great start and he kind of lost his way. Fans got on his back, didn't give him exactly the best environment to work in. And as a result, he really struggled. So I think with the right fostering, the right development, which you've definitely got there in terms of Kieran McKenna and obviously your attacking coach as well, I think it could be a real exciting one for you.
Yeah, I'll just put his stats up for his league stats anyway. Well, you know, as you say, it wasn't perhaps the best of situations or times for Dane. 34 games in the league, 4 goals, 1 assist. They're all on the screen for you to read see at home. If you're listening on audio, apologies you can't see it. I'll try and read it through as we sort of discuss it. But there was talk that he was moved out wide through the course of the loan spell. Where's his best position? What sort of attributes is he bringing to the table, Tom?
I definitely wouldn't play him out wide. You need him up there in the final third. That's where he thrives. That's where he plays his football. And you mentioned it earlier on, the game in the Papa John's at your place. You know, him finding that little bit of space, work bit of movement to get his shot off, and it goes under your keeper. And that was kind of Dane Scarlett down to a T when he was playing at Pompey, is he'd kind of find himself in a space and always looking to get a shot off. I definitely wouldn't put him out left wing. Kind of when John Messino first came in the back end of last season, we kind of worked him out to the left-hand side. He did look extremely lost, I'm afraid to say, and it's not a position that I would want him to find himself in. Kieran McKenna might have a plan for him, and that'd be absolutely fine, but I would say he's a striker, an out-and-out striker that I would probably, we were playing Colby Bishop and Dane Scarlett together for a little while. I wouldn't say it was exactly the partnership didn't exactly hit it off, but it was something that complemented his game, was playing alongside a striker. And I don't think you're going to play him up on top on his own, or you'll have Hursty with him, or you'll have, it'll be you don't know, probably because you haven't seen him play yet, but it'll be a 2, I would imagine. He needs a subordinate with him for sure.
Which does worry me a little bit, because I've got a striker on the books called Fred Ladapo, who, a Rotherham fan about 2 years ago, told me the exact same thing, and he weren't wrong. Big Fred scored some wonderful goals for the football club. The 4 goals that he got in the league, I know he got 2 in cup competition as well, and got 6, I believe, in total for yourselves. Now, I'm old enough to know strikers, they are based on their stats, but sometimes they can be unlucky, and the 4 goals cannot be a representation really of the positions he got himself into and what we could look forward to. Was he unlucky in the sense of a number of gilt-edged chances, key chances that he should have finished, or was 4 goals really sort of the marker for him? For me, it's a championship team. I'm not seeing those 4 goals and going needle mover.
Yeah, no, of course you're not, and I don't think anyone would. I don't even think if he went to a League One club for his next loan, they wouldn't go, a striker with 4 goals to his name is not exactly what you want. What I would say, it comes back to the confidence for me. It kind of, those goals came either side of a really difficult period for him at the club, where you're right, he was missing chances. Kind of maybe he was showing his age, perhaps in the negative way that you think about it. He threw on goal on a number of occasions away at home park last season with Plymouth. You can see Paddy Lanes to his left, and he just doesn't, and he tries to go alone, and it doesn't work. The goals he did score actually were really important ones. So the 2 that stick out to me is the 1-0 win against Port Vale away from home, which I mentioned to you earlier on. That meant we went top of the league for the shortest period of time ever, and then we completely had a horrendous season as a result by our standards. And he also scored in a 1-0 win over Burton at Fratton Park on a Tuesday night, which that was a game where you kind of got a lot of huff and puff, and eventually he was the man that made it happen. He hardly celebrated that goal because he'd had such a barren run of not scoring, and he was in such a weird relationship with a fan base where actually you probably wouldn't have wanted him to score the goal, because he's not been scoring for as long as he should have been. What I would say, he was probably confined to bench appearances for quite a while during the barren run. There's a point to which George Hurst, your magic man George Hurst, who we would have absolutely loved to have back when he was back at Leicester over the summer, and you boys have obviously got him back now. He was the man. Yeah, I bet you do. He's one of the best strikers I've seen play for Pompey in a long time. You look at his Rotherham stats off the bench, he was not scoring at all for them, and it's one of those where you kind of we have a striker, and that's where it's difficult to judge. We have a striker at our football club who doesn't perform. You completely switch the environment up, like George Hurst did with Rotherham, with us, and then later you boys. You see a completely different side to the game. I hope for your sake that's exactly what you see with Dane Scarlett, and he scores loads. But yeah, the goal scoring thing, I reckon, falls about right for him. Yeah. Okay,
wonderful insight, Rich. Before I let Tom go on with his Thursday evening, anything you want to pose to him yourself?
I wouldn't have minded Colby Bishop, Tom.
Yeah, well, luckily deadline day is nearly here and no one's had him yet, so I'm just kind of praying that nothing happens between now and 11.
Is there any rumours him going anywhere?
There hasn't been, no. The manager's been quite upfront in coming out and saying that there's little interest that we're actually kind of toying with. I think even if someone came in and said, here's £4 million for Colby tomorrow, I think the club probably would go, well, we haven't got anyone arranged to bring him in as a result of not having him. So I don't think Colby's your man, boys, sadly. I mean, I might look incredibly silly come tomorrow night, but yeah, he's fantastic. And actually, he's had a shaky start, to be honest with you. He's only scored a handful so far, but kind of questioning that a little bit in terms of he really needs to get motoring.
I like how you're talking him down. Just so no one's
just a little
listening.
bit, just so you kind of, yeah, just in case there's any watching eyes or ears on
Very
it.
wise. Very wise.
But yeah, no, and it's, to be fair, it's complete honesty that he hasn't probably scored the goals that he'd want to score. He probably hasn't had the opportunity to, from as a result of the other players on the pitch, to be honest with you. And maybe that's the part of more Pompey rather than Colby Bishop. But yeah, no, we want to keep hold of him. Please don't make a bid, Mr. Ashton, if you're watching. We don't want that tomorrow. Thank you.
Lost the checkbook, Tom.
Well, yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? And that checkbook has quite a pull. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sound like he's on the move. I'd be very surprised if he is. But, yeah, but put it this way. If I was an Ipswich fan, I would be wanting Colby Bishop every day of the week over Dane Scarlett. But, you know, young lad, different situation with, you know, coaches that are going to get the best out of him. That relationship with Kieran McKenna, I think you're onto a good one for this one. I'll be keeping an eye on him. Can't wait to see how it all goes with you boys.
Perfect. Tom, thank you for joining us. Oh, I've gone.
I
have gone. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening, and we'll speak very soon.
Best
Rich,
of luck for
you've heard
season.
Tom. You saw the stat sheet there. What are your thoughts then? We've got Phil waiting in the wings. The links in the chat. I'll give my thoughts in a moment. What are your really in-depth thoughts then? Come on, tell me. Lay on the line.
Well, when you look at the stats, I know we can look at stats any way we want, Gov, but they're not exactly jumping off the page at you, are they? Let's be honest.
They're certainly not. No.
You know, four goals in 34 league
League
starts.
games, yeah.
And he's a young lad. He's raw. He's got the tools. We hope that Kieran can bring the best out of him, really. But it's still, have we really, right? I don't want to sound negative because I like Scarlett and I think he could be a good addition. Have we really improved our starting 11?
Well, I'd say the answer to that is no.
We haven't.
Certainly
We haven't at all. We've got Jack Taylor. I think every Town fan or the majority would have said we're going to sign him anyway. George Hurst was already at the football club. He went back to Leicester. I think a lot of fans would have said he'd come back. We signed a goalkeeper, Kieran Slicker, and then 3 loan players. Now, they might turn out to be really, really good players, and we could be sitting here in 6 months' time with egg on our faces. It might be a case of Gov that we get to January and see where we are. I don't know, because no one really knows what the ambition is this season of the football club. For me, I've said before, I think we'll finish between 8th and 13th. It's a season progression.
The move's
progression,
but it's consolidation. That's
but we're only filling holes in the squad with loan players. We're not signing players and bringing them in, which I thought we were going to do, and improve them. If Dane Scarlett had signed a permanent deal today, I think a lot of fans would have been a lot happier, because we'd see you got a 19-year-old there who's highly rated, who we can work with, we can improve, and then possibly we sell on later down the line, like your Leif Davis, right? I think a lot of fans they get on board with that. When it's a loan signing, it is a little bit underwhelming.
It is, unless it's a Giovanni Dos Santos type loan signing, when you can see you're getting proven absolute quality and you're really excited to see him play. I think in isolation as a player, I think he's a good player, a good prospect, someone who, you can see how it develops over the course of the season. But as a wider transfer picture, I said to you this morning, I'm massively underwhelmed. Massively underwhelmed.
Was this the vision that we were sold?
Well, whether it's the vision or not, attacking the transfer market, 3 players that would, improve the first 11. I look at it, I look at the stats, and I'll be honest, I don't know much about the player other than what I've heard tonight and the stats that I've sourced from SofaScore. And I just look at the stats and I think, is he this old saying that I used in January with Hurst and Broadhead? Now, Broadhead I nailed, Hurst I got completely wrong, because I called Hurst, he wasn't a needle mover. He proved me wrong. And again, Dane Scarlett is the only person in this world who can prove me wrong when I say, is Dane Scarlett a needle mover? For me, sat here today, 31st of August, no. But then what's the needle being moved to? Because last year it was a promotion needle we needed moving. This year, if you're consolidating, but then I come back to the question, Rich, and I'll bring Phil in a second. If you're consolidating, would you not have preferred a younger player, perhaps like a Jack Taylor type, where you're bringing him up a level for a little bit of money and you're going to see what he's got in 12 months, 2 years' time? Because if Dane Scarlett's the next best thing, as Kieran McKenna called him, and Kieran McKenna knows more than I will ever know about football in his little finger, it don't mean nothing, because he goes back to Tottenham next year and we're left sort of.
Yeah,
no
you could say George Hurst signed a new contract at Leicester, and then he got loaned out and he got sold. So yeah, they're probably protecting an asset a little bit. Do I ever see Dane Scarlett playing for Spurs? That's the $1 million question, you know. Does he?
Did you see Troy Parrott playing for Spurs?
If he does, it means he's had a really good season at Town. You know.
Yeah.
If he goes on,
he does
next summer and goes back to Tottenham and then makes the breakthrough there.
Yeah,
you only have to look at Harry Kane when he was at Spurs. Gov, they loaned him out to several teams: Norwich, Leicester, Millwall. You know.
Good old Norwich.
But he got loaned out, you know, and in the end, I think he done really well at Millwall. Norwich, he didn't do a lot. Leicester, he just sat on the bench. I think he was involved in the Troy Deeney in the playoffs. Harry Kane was on the bench for that game. So I don't think we can sit here and write off Dane Scarlett and say, yeah, he's never going to play.
Absolutely not. No.
We don't know what happens. We haven't got a crystal ball. We can't look into that. But I think he's a good young prospect. But I still look, it's too late now. We got 24, 28 hours to go. Are we bringing players in who improve our starting 11 on the pitch? And I don't think at the minute we do. Does that happen in January? Possibly it happens then.
But you're only saying that because of what you were told by the chief executive in the pre-season when he was speaking about the 3 players. That's why you're only saying that. I think fans perhaps missed that point when you say, does he improve the first 11 right now? That's because that's kind of what you were led to believe was going to be the situation. You know, players arriving with clear stats in the game.
I don't agree with Lee's comment there. I don't agree with you can't criticise the club. This is what a lot of fans thinking, that the sun shines out of Mark Ashton's backside. We are allowed, Lee. No, we are allowed to question when he comes out and raises the expectation of fans. I think that's what he's done. 2 or 3 players into your first 11, right? We might sit here tomorrow night when we do the show. We might sign another 2 players who are going to come straight into the team. Which
is why I said in isolation as a player, exciting prospect could be something, but as a wider
but then I don't agree with that. I don't agree with Norman saying it feels like the Evans era again, because I think that's a little bit unfair. So somewhere in the middle, you know, somewhere in the middle.
Reality.
But
it's the truth.
At the minute, we've signed 6 players, and I would say it's been a pretty underwhelming transfer window. And Lewis is spot on there. That's what I said. It doesn't fit in with the player trading model that we thought that we were going to go down.
I don't mind loans if they clearly statistically improve me, and I look at the stats and that's all I can go on. I'm not a Portsmouth fan. I'm not a Tottenham fan. I've never seen the lad play other than times he played against Ipswich, and even then I'm thinking, do I really remember him? Not quite sure. The stats tell me 4 goals in League One. If that was a player you were signing, you perhaps would be going, oh, we're signing a Lincoln striker who scored 4 goals last year. That's a bit of a
Does this one. A little bit, before Phil comes, does this a little bit smack of a little bit of a TJJ signing? A little bit?
Potentially, but I've already got a raw player in Murray Hutchinson who I'm not quite sure what I'm going to get week in, week out. This is what I'm saying, as I've been saying for weeks, and that's why I'm not changing my tune just because he's at Tottenham and signed a new deal. Does he sort of improve us straight away? And we'll see. Time will really tell. But Rob's picked up on my point really from yesterday, and that is trouble is you're paying a premium in January for players. And I agree with Rob. You are going to pay a premium in January. So if everyone's thinking we'll get through to January, see where we're at, well, if you're knocking on the top 6, teams know you're knocking on the top 6. They know suddenly, they smell that ambition in the air and they think, well, that's an extra $1 million. That's an extra $1.5 million. That's an extra premium. You know, they don't just say, oh, go on then, just because we want to see you promoted, Ipswich, or whatever it might be the case. There is a little bit of a premium in January, particularly with the level we're now
but
playing.
Then Mark Ashton could easily sit here and say, well, we signed 4 players last January and we signed them because they're championship players and they improved us then, which is a fair point.
But how many teams were you competing with within the League One circle?
There you go, because we were a big fish last season and we had that pool, whereas now we're just in this league with a lot of other teams who've got some money. And you look at like a team like Hull. Were Town ever in for a player like Scott Twine? You know, he should have been. But
I don't know.
Would he have come to Town and played second fiddle to a chaplain? I don't know.
It's also, and this is where I say in isolation and the window as a wider picture, because tomorrow we'll know the wider picture. When we're live tomorrow evening, we'll know the wider picture. You'll be able to say whether you think it really is a good signing or whether there's a lot of question marks. Because if he's coming in to be my backup to Wes Burns, again, I'm underwhelmed. If he's purely a striker, and this time tomorrow we're sitting here with a right winger who, who's brought something to the table, you can say, I like Dane as an option off the bench, a different type of player, a different type of question you pose. Right now on the Thursday, it's really difficult with the window still open to say whether it's what it is, really. Lots of comments in the chat. Max Fax picking up on the Cowley brothers. Matt will be absolutely crying at home in Essex in regards to what Max has just said in the chat. I won't put it on the screen, but he'll be in tears. It's bath time. But Phil, what are your thoughts this evening?
I've got 3 or 4 points to make.
Fire away, my man. We've got about 10 minutes. So
right. The first point is that McKenna's obviously gone for young players that he likes to develop. And I think that's a pattern that I've definitely seen over the last 18 months of his, managerialship. 2, yes, okay, I understand the frustration with some Town fans. These 3 loan signings, do appear to be somewhat underwhelming as far as the starting 11 is concerned. But when you look at it from, last season, okay, we've signed effectively 3 Premier League players, albeit on loan. And I personally think the likes of Hutchinson, who played the other night against Reading, had a very good game. And
League One Reading.
Well, yeah, contention.
Just put context into it.
But I trust McKenna. I trust McKenna to graft the players that he needs, that he wants to work with. And I think so far, from the start of the season, albeit 4 or 5 games into the season, we have got a very settled first 11 at the moment, albeit okay. Yes, the goal. We've got a second choice goalkeeper at the moment. I think we're doing very well with a settled team at the moment. And when you look at the likes of Taylor, he's struggling at the moment to break into that first 11. So I think that at the moment, going with a sort of a settled first 11 that McKenna's got, we're doing well. We've started really well. I can't remember the last time, I went to 3 away games on the bounce and managed to win all 3 of them. So I'm breaking new ground with that. But I do understand the frustration with some fans that they're probably not quite the players that they were hoping for. The other side of the coin is that, clubs know that we've got money to spend. And we're all sort of shopping in the same pool of players as every other championship club is. They're trying to improve their squads. They're trying to get hold of the better players. We're not a Leeds United. We haven't got tens and tens of millions of pounds to spend, but we do have enough money to strengthen certain areas. And I personally think that so far with the players that McKenna's brought in, I'm quite happy with the players that we've brought in. We're not just relying on George Hurst to score all the goals. We've got 3 or 4 other goal scorers in the team. Broadhead, Chappers, Burnsy. And I think that for me, I can see Scarlett coming in as a bit of a not a backup, but I think what will happen is, again, he's probably going to be more of an impact player off the bench. I know that that's probably something you, Rich, may not like the sound of, but I think that I'm quite happy with the squad of players we got at the moment. But Richard, just looking at the bigger picture a little bit, it's going to take maybe 2 or 3 transfer windows to get the players in. Now, I think for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think the club have been working on building up good relationships with other clubs for players that we're interested in. And like with Taylor, it did take us 5 or 6 months to get him in. We would have got him in earlier, but we couldn't do it. But I think come January, come next summer, you probably will see those players come in. And just very quickly, we've only just arrived back in the Championship. We're a new Championship club, and for me, as a fan growing up, historically, I've seen the fact that geographically in this country, we're not in a very rich area for players, being attracted to the town of Ipswich and the living.
Hello, Marcus, is that you?
But you know what I'm saying. Do I like Dane Scarlett as a player? Yes, I thought he was a bit older. I thought he was like 21, 22. But let's see how he gets on, and I'm looking forward to this time. I don't know, come January, let's see what happens. But I'm quite happy as it is.
Does the real question, Phil, though, come and sort of ask, after the international break, in the sense if you're playing 6 games in about 4 weeks, that's when the squad really starts to get tested. You get into the winter months, you get suspensions that start coming up because players have accumulated yellow cards, injuries, niggly ones perhaps that you can't play Saturday. Like Harry Clark, for example, you can't go Saturday, then the week you manage it Saturday. You've got that Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Is that really where fans are questioning these sort of moves? Because the squad as a whole is already a big question mark. This just adds to it.
Just to quickly answer that question in partiality, we're still in the League Cup, 3rd round of the League Cup, first time in 8 years.
There's one more game.
I think that's a testament to the squad of players that we've got. Our second string seem to be doing really quite well at that, and I think that at some point we're going to come out of the League Cup at some point in the next month or two, and I think that's where the players who will be starting from the bench or won't be quite making the matchday squad, will be trying to work that extra bit harder in training. And that's where I think, we will start to see some rotation from, Saturday, Tuesday perspective.
Which is when the unknown quantities, Rich, is what the fans are sort of, at home, sort of trying to puzzle it all together, because the squad's going to get really tested and it's going to be thick and fast between after this break into the next break, particularly with that big Wolves game coming up.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
I'm sure many people are, Phil.
It's you look at the minute and
I was hoping for Liverpool.
Everything's new, Gov, and you get these teams who come up and you've got your momentum and all the fans are really positive. And this is where I said on the other day, where you get certain players, they can lift themselves for 2 or 3 games. Can they do it over a consistent run of games? And this is where we'll find out a lot in the next few months about certain players that maybe some people thought were good enough, some people didn't think they were good enough. But this is when we're going to be tested. But this is where I come back to, like a Scarlett and Amari Hutchinson. Do I see them starting many games? Not at the minute, I don't. And it's all right having that impact off the bench. But like when we looked on Saturday at the Leeds game, Martin, and you said you see McKenna there and you see him in talking with Martin Pert, and then nothing happened, and you made them changes. And did they really impact the game? No, they didn't, because you're going to have games this season when we're winning. You'll have players come on and they can close the game out. It's when you're chasing a goal, when you're maybe behind, can these players come on and can they change something? And I'll tell you something else, Phil, is also the clock is ticking. I know you were saying about 2 or 3 more transfer windows. The clock's ticking on the manager as well. This is what fans need to grasp as well, because Kieran McKenna, I think personally, Martin, has got 2 seasons in the Championship before he moves on. He will outgrow the football club.
At some point, yes, I agree with that.
He will, because he gets talked
some
about.
He's already sacked last Christmas. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I know he was sacked by certain people. Matt.
Even in that.
Look, Scarlett, I like him, Phil. I hope he can prove a lot of people wrong, because he's got a lot of people doubting him already. But look, this is a world that we live in of social media and football fans, and a lot of them who are even commenting on him have probably never ever seen him play. So
he's just signed a new 4-year deal at Spurs. So, they rate him. So
this is purely what I'm going on. This stat card here, but I can't remember ever seeing him play, which is obviously a bad thing. That was his last game for Tottenham, obviously in the EFL Cup against Fulham, 45 minutes. I did put it together just in case someone wanted to see it. But
right,
Phil,
I've got to go.
I know.
I've got to go.
I'll see you later, Phil.
Just one more thing. Just one more thing before we go. Oh, damn it.
Is there one more thing or not?
I was going to mention about the Reading game, but forget it.
Good man, Phil. We appreciate you coming on. Look after yourself. The Fisherman will close with you tonight. We've got a few comments. First of all, I'll start with a question to you that 79 CPS has put in the chat. Question for everyone. To the players that are in the starting 11, who would you replace for a new player? So I know you're underwhelmed with this signing. So who would you replace in our current 11? Or wouldn't you?
Look, that's the thing, isn't it? I think that's the hardest thing, isn't it? Ashton came out and quoted and said that, we're going to sign 3 players, that are going to be in our first 11. Now, our first 11, there's not much wrong with them. Proving that to be the case, we've only lost 1 game and, can't actually... can't moan about that too much. But the only thing I would argue is our biggest issue is our strength and depth. We've got a League 2 goalkeeper who's for me is not good enough for the Championship. And I said this the other night. You know, if we're going to get promoted at this, look. My question to the fans. I
disagree, by the way.
Well, look, that's why opinions are. We're allowed opinions, isn't it? My question is what are the club's goals this season? Because no one's come out and said what their goals are. They haven't said what they want from this season. You know, all the fans. Look, I mean, Rich, myself, and most of us are happy for top half finish. You know, and if we make the playoffs, great. If we get automatics, even better. But the reality is, what are the club's goals this season? Because if it's based on the transfer window, it's pretty poor, if I'm brutally honest. And if we're led to believe what's going on Twitter, on TWTD, and with Brett coming off the socials, that's a bit of a worry.
I don't know anything about that, so we'll leave that for the time being. We'll leave that for the time being. But on your goals comment, they're never going to come out and say their goals. You know, every football team is going to say our goal is to finish as high as we possibly can, and if it's promotion, brilliant. But of course, we want to be in the Premier League. That's every team. I don't care which team in this division. They're all going to try and sing from that same hymn sheet. They're never going to come out and say, "Well, our goal this year really is to finish probably 10th to 13th." Consolidate, play a bunch of young players to develop. We'll see how we go. Stick with us. Like, you're not really, you're rarely going to get that. You're rarely going to get.
You say that when you get, but you say that with you say that though. But when you get promoted teams to the Championship going into the Premier League, and you get teams that are sort of mid-table teams in the Premier League, for them their goals are pretty clear. What is either stay up, or as finish high as we can with what we've got.
So now, assume it's the second one, because
but the reality is it does make you wonder what we are trying to achieve this year. Now, look, from a fan point of view, I'm happy with top half finish, and I think we're more than capable with the squad we've got to finish top half. And would I want promotion this year? Not with the current squad. No, I don't think it'd be good enough for the Premier League, and we'd end up having to change far too many players to survive in the Premier League. And I don't want to be a yo-yo club like Norwich. I don't want to be a club like Luton that goes up and ends up become the whipping boys of the league. I want to be able to go be a Brighton, be a Fulham, and teams like that are sort of Crystal Palace, teams like that have sort of consolidated themselves. The problem is, when you got a transfer window like this, where look,
oh, we've lost the signal. Mike, we're losing you, mate. I'm going to drop you out, see if you can come back to me. But I can't believe you just said you wouldn't like to be promoted. I don't know if it was home on my face. I don't know if I hit it well. I would take promotion in a heartbeat. It's like saying I don't want to win the lottery tomorrow. I'd love to win the lottery tomorrow as well. Are you back? No, he's not. But I can't. I'll ask Lee that question. If you had the chance to choose promotion, Lee, would you accept it? If it was a choice, like what was that show with Jasper Carrot? Steal or no steal? If you could steal promotion or not steal, what would you do?
Well, of course you get promoted.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it might be a struggle. It might be a struggle anytime you go up, but it's nonsense. Of course you would take promotion if it was offered to you, because you're in the Premier League.
I thought I was going mad for a minute.
But are we ready for it is another matter. But just listening to Mike, I just think that, I mean, not that I'm underwhelmed or anything, but I was normally I'm quite a positive guy, I think. That didn't set my pulse race in the news today. Didn't.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And the reason I say that is, and of course we're judging by what he does on the pitch, and good luck to him, trust McKenna, all that. Of course we do. But have we got another Hutchinson that is going to need a bit of time to bed in? And is it going to, so let's just see what happens. But the transfer window is not closed yet. I think we've still got a couple more to come in, haven't we? But is he playing second fiddle, third fiddle? I don't know, because obviously Hurst is the man, and does he go ahead of Ladapo, or does he offer something different? It's all about profiles, isn't it? So
I'm just
we'll have
I'm just laughing, Lee, because our community here at Talking Town come up with some of the most brilliant comments. And obviously you're out fishing. I know that because I've seen the posts. But we've got, is this man doing Blair Witch 4? Are you having a
5.
sleepover? Lee's auditioning for a horror movie. Just a great comment. Listen to us now, the Leando Project. Like, just some great comments. Absolutely love our community. But I'm surprised you've come onto it, because I thought when I saw your name pop up on the screen, I thought, brilliant. Some positivity. The man that always brings the positiveness. He's going to say how great this signing is, how much he loves the player, how we're going to, all going to relax, blah blah blah. And then you've gone the other way, which is uncomplete. I don't know if I've ever had that from yourself. I'm quite surprised.
I think if you listen, to what's been said over the last couple of years, it's progression, it's measured, and this is what we get, and that's fine. That is that type of signing, isn't it? But I just feel that we're developing somebody else's player. That's all.
Which is a fair point. Obviously, we had Tom on earlier in regards to the player he saw online last year at Pompey. I put his stats on the screen earlier. If you just treat it in isolation as the player, are you intrigued as to where he fits for McKenna? Because is he going to be a winger, a striker? Is he going to be like a TJJ, where he's a sort of a mixture of all three positions at different moments? Where do you see him sort of really fitting into the Town puzzle?
Well, I think he's a bit more of a second striker, perhaps. He's not a front man. He's not a Hurst, or he's just not. I don't think he's big enough. He's not going to go in and bully at 19, is he? He's not going to go in and bully centre halves. So he's not going to play the same role as Hurst, I would have thought. So he's probably more of a, 10 or a second striker, or false 9 or something. Just a forward type of player that can get in maybe behind the striker, around Ladapo and around Hurst. So I mean, I don't know much about him, but at 19 years old, he's not going to go and bully centre halves, is he? That at that point. But I mean, let's see where it takes us. If that's what we can get in. I mean, we may have lost out on some other signings, but I mean, if people think we were going to come in and spend millions and millions, that's just not how it's going to be. It's measured, and that's what was said the minute the ownership walked through the door. So that's what we're seeing. And let's just progress and see where we go. But I do sort of agree to Mike a little bit about there's not still a lot off the bench, is there? When you've got your first 11 out, there's not much off the bench.
No.
And youngsters, Hutchinson did well midweek, but he was playing against Reading under 21s, a lot of them, wasn't he? So he is going to shine there. There's certainly a player there, but he's a little bit lightweight at the moment. So hopefully he will improve. But he's not going to be better at the moment than what we've got, because he's being developed by a McKenna, the same as this new lad will be. So, yeah, let's just see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lee, there we go. I've got to go. I appreciate you coming. Every time I type on my keyboard, my webcam decides to hit the ceiling. But Lee, I appreciate you coming on. I hope that the fish are biting. You look after yourself.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. See you later.
All the best. Thank you so much. We had a question in the chat. Where can you get the Talking Town merch from? New designs being added soon. It's shop.talkingtown.co.uk. Thomas Val, good signing for Town. Scarlett is a huge potential. Shame to see a lot of negativity from the fan base, and hope he proves everyone wrong. Ipswich Jules, one of our YouTube fifth standards. You can come one of those by hitting the join button or going to Ko-Fi, $4.99, cancel at any point. We know that Brandon Williams was initially a loan to buy deal. I wonder if this is the same or we wanted it to be. I've not read anything on that. Ipswich Jules obviously didn't get that included in the deal for Williams in the end. He signed a new deal at Tottenham as Dane, so I imagine it probably perhaps never was. Harps is excited to see Dane Scarlett at Town, especially with the best coach in the league improving his game quickly. Dominic Dean, one of our YouTube members, please wake up. We have a good 11 as long as Hurst is fit. We've won 3 out of 4. Where is the panic? Great comment. Thank you, Dominic. Norman says, I think this window is indicating we have missed out on our first, second, and third choice signings. I'll just go up. I've got a comment from Hamish. It says, plan is to be close to the playoffs and then go big in January with the signings to push on for the top 6. Would you be happy with that plan? If that is the plan, is that a good plan, Town fans? Let us know in the comments, whether you're watching live or on catch up. Nigel Price, what if you can't get anyone else? The players you want can't be prized away in this window. Is this the best we can get for now? He finishes. Right, there we go. And Matt Stannard says he loves the signing. And I love all of you. Thank you for joining me this evening. Over 200 watching us live. Hit the like button. We're back tomorrow. A little bit later, unless we get the all clear and it says no more business, then there might be a meltdown. I don't know. But unless we get that, we are back live tomorrow night, 9:30. We're going to try and take us as close as we can to the window closing and give you a sort of a reaction on how we feel the window's gone in regards to Town. We can do that earlier, obviously, if nothing gets done. But do join us tomorrow for another live Talking Town. Then, of course, match reaction following the Cardiff game. This has been your transfer reaction. Lots of reactions at Talking Town. Your transfer reaction. I'm the Gov. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. Oh, yes, you make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Oh, yes, oh, please, lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I thought went crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair.